The 2025 Formula One season has been nothing short of thrilling. McLaren's comeback has transformed the title race into a complete battle between Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. Two drivers in matching cars, but divided by slim differences and competing goals. Monza was expected to be another typical McLaren display of supremacy. However, it left fans wondering whether the team is quietly influencing the future of this year's title. In front of crowds of TOC, McLaren executed the call that divided the pit lane, instructing Piastri to move over for Norris after a terrible pit stop took the Briton valuable seconds. What came next wasn't just a basic exchange of places. It caused anger, rumours, and even claims from Bernie Ecclestone himself that McLaren prefers a title winner named Lando Norris. Today, we examine the details of what actually happened inside the pit box, why it matters, and what it could signify for the title fight. Before we explore, be sure to follow because this fight is developing up to be one of the key narratives in current F1, and you don't want to miss a one-turn. Music. The dispute at Monza centred on one critical instance. Lando Norris's terrible 5.9-second pit stop caused by a wheel nut that failed to move. In a racing where fractions determine results, 5 complete seconds is a lifetime. That hold-up took Norris heavily, placing him after both Max Verstappen and his own partner Oscar Piastri. What occurred next wasn't a matter of simple competition. It turned into a trial of McLaren's values, their cohesion, and maybe their secret preferences. The command arrived quickly. Piastri was instructed to step back and allow Norris past. To McLaren, it was just returning the original order of the race, as if the pit stop problem had not happened. Andrea Stella, the team boss, supported the call by referring to McLaren's approach of equality and equilibrium. According to Stella, the team had acted within the values that both drivers had agreed upon. But those words sparked more questions than answers. If fairness means correcting mistakes caused by pit crews, does that not also create a dangerous precedent? Where do you draw the line between sporting integrity and manufactured results? Oscar Piastri's frustration was plain to hear over the team radio. "Mate, we said a slow pit stop is part of racing." He shot back, voicing the very sentiment that fans around the world were already thinking. He knew this wasn't about pace, nor about respect. It was about principles. Still, despite his protest, he complied. He let Norris through and the Briton went on to secure second place behind Verstappen. Piastri settled for third, watching his title race lead shrink by 3 points. On the surface, it looked like harmony. Piastri accepted the situation. Norris claimed he didn't demand special treatment and the team stood united. But under the polished statements lies an undeniable tension. Formula One history teaches us that these moments, small sacrifices, subtle orders, are where rivalries are forged. They may be disguised as team spirit, but deep down, they plant the seeds of distrust. Think back to the infamous Hamilton versus Rosberg, years at Mercedes, or Senna versus Prost at McLaren. Those rivalries didn't ignite in one explosive race, they simmered beneath the surface, fed by moments just like Monza. The so-called papaya rules became another flashpoint. Last season, they were touted as the framework for managing two ambitious drivers within the same team. Race hard, respect each other, and don't collide. Basic enough. But after Monza, Norris flat out denied their existence, dismissing the phrase as a myth. According to him, the only rule is fairness. Yet, fairness is subjective. To Norris, fairness meant regaining the position he lost through no fault of his own. To Piastri, fairness meant being allowed to keep what he had earned on track. And to McLaren, fairness seems to mean whatever keeps both cars scoring maximum points for the constructors' title race. But here's the uncomfortable question. Is this actually about fairness, or is it about preference? Bernie Ecclestone, never afraid to speak his mind, declared that it looks increasingly like McLaren prefers a world champion named Lando Norris. And there's logic to that suspicion. Lando Norris is British and McLaren is a British team. From a marketing perspective, crowning Britain's next F1 title winner, especially after Lewis Hamilton's supremacy, would be a golden storyline for sponsors, fans, and the media. Piastri, despite his immense talent, simply doesn't carry the same commercial weight in McLaren's home market. The numbers, however, don't lie. Oscar Piastri has been the sharper driver this season, 7 wins compared to Norris's 5. A slim but valuable title race lead and a consistency that has placed him firmly in contention for the crown. If McLaren truly believes in meritocracy, Piastri should be their man. Yet at Monza, it was Norris who benefited from the team's intervention. This isn't the first time either. Hungary 2024 saw Piastri denied a maiden victory when team orders tilted the balance in Norris's favour. One incident could be explained as circumstance, two begins to look like a pattern. And what of the reaction across the pit lane? Max Verstappen, the reigning champion, reportedly laughed when told of McLaren's team orders. To him, it seemed almost comical. Why interfere when both drivers are fighting fairly on track? David Coulthard was more direct, accusing McLaren of manipulating the result. Martin Brundle, on the other hand, defended the call, saying it was necessary to preserve harmony and pointing out that all top teams would love to have such cohesion. But the divided opinions highlight just how divisive this moment has become. For Piastri, the challenge is now psychological as much as it is physical. Every time he steps into the cockpit, he must wonder whether the team truly backs him to win a title race. He might play the role of the obedient soldier now, but as the pressure mounts and the title fight intensifies, will he continue to comply? Or will we see the gloves come off in one of the most dramatic intra-team battles since Nico Rosberg defied team orders against Lewis Hamilton in 2016? What makes this saga even more fascinating is the bigger picture. McLaren are dominating the constructors' title race, sitting comfortably ahead of their rivals. With both drivers delivering podiums almost every weekend, the team can afford to let them race. And yet, however of letting nature take its course, they chose control. Control may preserve harmony today, but it risks chaos tomorrow, because once a driver feels his team doesn't fully believe in him, trust begins to erode. And in Formula One, broken trust inside a team is the fastest way to lose championships. 8 races remain in the 2025 season. The next stop is Azerbaijan, a street circuit notorious for chaos, unpredictability, and high drama. If there's one track where tensions could explode, it's Baku. Imagine Piastri and Norris fighting wheel to wheel with the spectre of Monza still looming. Will Piastri yield again, or will he send a message that he won't be pushed aside? These are the kinds of battles that don't just decide championships, they define careers. For now, McLaren insists everything is slim. Zak Brown praises his drivers, Andrea Stella preaches unity, and both Norris and Piastri smile for the cameras. But beneath the surface, Formula One fans can sense it. The storm is brewing. Because in a season where McLaren are finally back on top, their biggest threat might not come from Verstappen, Ferrari, or Mercedes. It might come from within their own pit box. So, here's the question. Did McLaren make the right call at Monza, or did they just tip their hand, showing the world that Lando Norris is the driver they truly want as title winner? Drop your thoughts below because this controversy is far from over. And with 8 races left, the battle between Norris and Piastri could go from professional respect to complete civil war.